Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Beyond the Job Description webinar. We're so excited you're here. Just a few quick housekeeping notes for today. We're recording today's session and we'll be sending the replay later this week. Please use the Q&A for any questions and, of course, the chat to connect with our panelists, our keynote, and each other. We want this to be an interactive experience, so please get in there and talk to each other. This event will run about 60 minutes, and on today's agenda, we'll have Tyler Lindley as our keynote, and he will set the stage, followed by a panel discussion. So please, again, drop those questions in the Q&A box so that they can answer those live for us. Now, I'm thrilled to announce our keynote, Tyler Lindley. Tyler is a sales professional with 15 years experience across direct sales, leadership, training, and enablement. He's partnered with startups, SMBs, and enterprises, including HubSpot, Keep, Vendition, and Easy Caterer, training hundreds of reps and leaders in modern sales skills. As founder of the Sales Lift, Tyler helps sales teams and founders simplify their processes and increase revenue with practical, actionable strategies. So Tyler, welcome, and we're so happy to have you, and over to you.
Thank you, Katie. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me here. Super excited to be chatting today about all kinds of things like the critical sales support that you didn't know that you needed. So we're going to be utilizing the Zoom chat a lot throughout. That's going to be at the bottom. So down at the bottom, you'll click chat. I want to make sure you also change from it says to host and panelists, change that to everybody so we can actually all see each other chat. So you're going to do that at the bottom of Zoom. There's just a button that says chat, and you'll change the to button to everyone. And we're going to start off with everyone tossing in, where are you joining from today? So I'll toss that into the chat so you can see what that looks like. So toss in, where in the world are you joining in on this webinar so we can kind of see, get a feel for where everybody is joining in from. Jenna's from Huntington Beach, California. That's awesome. I'm in Marietta, Georgia on the East Coast. So yeah, again, make sure you put everyone in so we can see where everybody's joining in from. South Carolina, Texas. Yep, so we can see everybody tossing in on the Zoom chat there as I crack my seltzer here. All right, fantastic. So we're going to be utilizing that Zoom chat throughout. We also have the Q&A button, so feel free to chime in so that we can see. Somebody did say chat might be disabled, so we may want to work on that, Katie. Awesome. So let's go ahead and start today. We're going to talk a lot today about sales reps and how sales reps spend their time. And I want to start with let's start with a question. The question is, what percentage of a sales rep's time is actually spent selling? What percentage of a sales rep's time is actually spent selling? All right, cool. Looks like the chat might be giving us problems. So if you want to toss your answer in the Q&A, that would be fine, or we'll try to get that chat turned on. But if we think about what percentage of a sales rep's time, I think a lot of people, when they think about this question, it's like, well, obviously you'd love that to be as much as possible, right? 80%, 100% even. But in reality, we know that that is not the case, right? We know that that is not the case. So the percentage, actually, there's some recent studies, HubSpot data shows that the percentage of time that sales reps actually spend selling is anywhere from 33 to 39%. Jaws hit floor, right? Almost about a third, maybe a little bit more than a third of a sales rep's time is actually spent selling, which is crazy. That means as much as 2/3 of a sales rep's day is spent doing non-sales activities. So if we break this down even further, let's think about a sales rep's day, right? That's an 8-hour day. So in 8 hours, roughly 5 to 6 of those hours are spent not selling. So in an 8-hour day, 5 to 6 hours are spent not selling, doing things other than selling. Now, if we, another way to think about this, let's think about how much a sales rep actually costs. So let's just use Let's say that a sales rep at your company cost 150K all in. After we factor in the salary, fully loaded salary, benefits, taxes, tools, overhead commissions, let's say that they're making 150 all in. So if we apply that same math, that means you're spending upwards of $90,000 on 150K fully loaded sales reps on non-sales activities. So this is crazy. 5 to 6 hours a day, $90,000 on a $150,000 rep are spent not selling. So the question is where does all of that time and money actually go? Where does all of that time and money actually go? And that's what we're going to explore. That's what we're going to explore. So if we think about what tasks actually keep reps from selling, what are those? What are the tasks that keeps reps from selling? Toss your answers. I don't know if the Zoom chat's working or not yet, but if you want to toss it into the Q&A, I think that is working. What are some of the things that sales reps do that keep them from selling? Toss your answers into the Zoom chat as we start to think out loud here. So the first thing is definitely like updating the CRM, right? Can spend a lot of time doing that kind of admin work. Brian just chimed in the Q&A. By the way, Q&A box is working. So if you have something you want to chime into the Q&A. Brian said operational feedback and support. That's a great one, Brian. Operational feedback and support, right? All that back-end operations work. So if you have anything, what do sales reps, the question is what tasks keep reps from actually selling? All right, what else do we have? Admin work. Oh, love that. Admin, now we're cooking. Now we're cooking with gas. Hazel says prospecting. Yeah, I mean, we could toss that in. I mean, it depends on your definition of prospecting, but sometimes that could keep you from actually closing business. Hold on, let me move that over here a sec. What else? Building lists. Oh, now we're talking. Building lists. That is every sales rep's favorite activity. Hey, let's go build a list of 50 companies in the Fort Worth metro area. What else? Training. Brian says training. Yep. Training. Creating product mock-ups and presentations. So we got, I'll just call that presentation prep. Again, we're making a list of all of the non-sales activities that sales reps do throughout their day. That makes up of that 2/3 of their day. Research, yes. We'll toss that here. My goodness, the board is getting filled up. It's getting filled up. Dealing with ad hoc customer questions. I'll just call that ad hoc questions. Yep, awesome. All right, so as we can see, we could keep going, and we haven't even tossed in the things they do to waste their time, like scroll TikTok occasionally or mess around on their phone. This is all just job-related stuff. Emma just said job and production status inquiries. These are all fantastic. The key here, though, is that you can see the time goes in a lot of different directions. It goes in a lot of different directions. And the cost isn't just wasted hours, but deals start slipping through the cracks, Follow-ups get sent too late. Some of those hot leads that might have been piping hot, or at least warm, start to go cold. And then sales cycles can increase, right? They go from 35 days to 40 days, 50 days, 60 days. And deals for this quarter might bump into next quarter. All of this is revenue lost. And it's not because they can't sell. It's not because sales reps can't sell. It's because they run out of time to sell, right? It's not that they can't sell. It's because they run out of time to sell. So if your team, if you're a sales rep or you're a sales leader out there, or you own a business with some sales folks in it, your team may not be performing as well as you'd like. And it may not necessarily be a talent problem, may not be a management problem, may not be a tools problem, CRM problem, may not be any of these, right? The problem might just be time, right? Time. I tell reps all the time that your most valuable resource, it's not your product, it's not your CRM, it's not that playbook, it's not that tactic. This is your most valuable resource, your time, because this is the only thing you can't get back, right? So how your reps, if you're a seller or if you're a sales leader, how sales reps spend their time is the most important thing in sales. because the better reps are at time management, the more efficient that they are, the better that they're going to be for you, the better they're going to be for the company, the better they're going to be in terms of quote attainment, the better performance they're going to have, right? So if you spend your time poorly in sales, you lose. And not just you lose, the company loses, everyone loses. So we're going to dig into some of the different ways that we can solve for this. And one of the key things that I want to talk to you about today is an idea called sales support. Anybody ever heard that term? Sales support. As I write my P's a little funky here. Sales support. What is sales support? Right? What is sales support? Feel free to toss some ideas into the Q&A box or the Zoom chat. I don't know if that's back working. But sales support, when we think about what does that mean? What are we doing when we do sales support? We're really like trying to give some dedicated resources focused on some of those non-selling activities so that you can free your reps up to sell more effectively. Sarah says a position that takes us sales reps out of the weeds. Ooh, I love that one. Out of the weeds, right? Because this list that we're making up here, this is the weeds, right? We're living in the weeds here, but we want to free up that rep's time and focus and energy to go from focusing on these things to focusing on the revenue generating activities that matter, right? To focus on actually selling. Thanks so much for that, Sarah. I love that analogy, out of the weeds. All right, awesome. Because every hour that a rep spends in front of customers is an hour that's driving revenue, right? They can do more calls, they can be following up, deal cycle gets faster, conversions get better, quota checks get bigger, commission checks, everybody's happy, right? Everybody's happy. So when you think about sales support, think of it almost like a rep's right hand, right? Handling some of that repetitive and sometimes time-wasting activities so that the reps can focus on revenue-generating activities. Sandy says, internal advocate, liaison between sales and the customer. I love that, right? An internal advocate, somebody that's helping to bridge that sales and customer relationship, right? Anything you can do to make that relationship better is going to be efficient and it's going to be impactful on the sales org and for that sales rep. So when we think about sales support, we're going to break down the type of sales support into 4 key areas, okay? 4 key buckets. First bucket, which I think we were talking about a little bit ago when folks were chiming in, is admin. Admin, okay? This is all that admin type work, the inbox, the CRM, the calendar, CRM updates, doing some of that research, all of that admin type work that really can bog a rep down and take a lot of their time. That's the first big bucket of activity that sales support can help solve. Number 2, deal support. And I think this is what, let's just see who it was in the chat. Man, my P's are awful today. Deal support. This is what Sandy was alluding to. Sandy Love, appreciate you, Sandy, chiming in the chat. Deal support is like that follow-up, helping with quotes, with proposals, onboarding, handoffs, all of that client liaison work that Sandy was alluding to. That is crucial, right? Because as a rep, you don't just have one client usually. You're juggling dozens of clients. Could be hundreds of clients depending on your role. And so having someone to help with that deal support is crucial to make sure nothing falls through the cracks, all right? Number 3, we're going to call this proactivity. Proactivity, right? If you ask a rep, like, would you prefer to be reactive or proactive? Reactive or proactive? I think most of them are going to say, oh, I'd love to be proactive, right? I'm a proactive rep. But that's easier said than done, to be proactive. Sales support allows us to get some of that proactivity back so we can proactively be reaching out to customers. Sometimes the best customer to sell to is the one that's already bought from you. Usually that's the best one, right? Somebody that can buy from you again, but you have to be proactive in nurturing those folks and reaching back out and following up and handling some of those basic questions that might be coming in via email. That proactivity is crucial for a sales rep. All right. And then the 4th big bucket is process. And process might be a scary word to some sellers, but really just tightening up those workflows, making sure that your productivity is high, making sure that you're optimizing for your tech stack. All four of these buckets are crucial because sales support, that right hand, can help to alleviate the admin, the deal support, being proactive, and then having a more efficient process. All right. So now that we know some of the different areas where sales support might help, let's talk about the two different types. Okay. The first type is in-house. Right? This is if you were to bring in resources in-house to help with this sales support type role. And now the great thing is that these people be fully integrated into your team. Typically, that is the most expensive route. And I don't know if y'all have seen lately, but sometimes hiring takes time, especially in this market, right? Almost recent studies have shown like nearly half of small businesses have reported unfilled jobs, and half say that they're lacking qualified candidates lately. So just because you put a job posting up doesn't mean you're finding a good candidate quickly. Sometimes you may not find a good one at all, and those jobs might go unfilled. So you're definitely spending more money and time going this in-house route. But the good thing is that they're fully integrated into your team. Now, the other option is outsourced, right? Outsourced. And, this is a great alternative for folks if as an alternative to in-house, just because offshore options usually can deliver the same quality, right, at a much lower cost. And some of those same problems that we have with in-housing, like filling those jobs, usually the speed to hire is a little bit faster when we go outsourced. We can onboard things faster. We can get people up and running faster, and so that you can start giving the sales support to your team faster. So just a more flexible option. But obviously, as you think about this strategy, you got to figure out what makes the most sense for you. I think the real question you got to ask yourself here is, do you want your $150,000 a year sales rep spending their time on admin tasks or on activities that are driving revenue? Right? Because right now, studies show that they're wasting a lot of time on that admin, but you're spending a lot of money on that person, on that sales rep, in order for them to be doing all those non-sales activities. So let's kind of bring it back here. Let's bring it back to the big picture. So like I said before, most reps are only spending about a third of their time selling. Only about a third of their time selling, which means that a lot of companies are spending thousands, six-figure type money on talent, but a lot of that money is just going out the window because they're getting bogged down in all these non-sales tasks. So the fix isn't necessarily more tools and dashboards and, putting more pressure on them and all these things. The fix is just giving them more time, giving them the more time and the support that they need. Awesome. Looks like the chat is back up and running. So if you have any questions, thoughts, comments, throw it into the chat. Thank you, Katie. Awesome. So when we give reps more time, they should be spending that time selling. So they're not buried in their CRM. They're not buried in that research. They're not spending all that time, in those non-sales activities. And that's part of the reason why we've brought this panel together today, is to kind of show you and talk about some of these real world examples of what this can look like, because we're trying to solve this time problem and how we can support our sellers better, because the better support we can give our sellers, the better they are going to be showing up every day, the more sticky they're going to be in terms of hanging around, and they're going to be happy and they're going to be driving revenue, which is exactly what we want them doing. So today we're going to bring in a panel and we're going to talk about some real world examples. We're going to have some questions. So it looks like we've got the Zoom chat open as well as the Q&A box, which we've gotten familiar with. So if you have questions related to this selling time crisis, related to sales support, related to, how do you structure some of these things? How do we get reps doing more of the right behaviors? That's what we're going to be talking about today. So feel free to toss your questions, thoughts, comments into the chat or into the Q&A box. And then I'm going to go ahead and introduce us to our panel now. So we can go ahead and start with Jenna Quaranta. Jenna, welcome to the panel. Jenna is the Director of Sales Training at HPG. She has over a decade of experience as a promotional product supplier and distributor, and she's known for her direct, results-driven style. She's created the field sales method, a proven approach with talk tracks, communication strategies, and a modern prospecting schedule. Welcome to the panel, Jenna. So happy to have you here.
I remember my first time using Zoom. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here and have this conversation with you and Braden.
Yeah, awesome. So glad you're here. And that brings us to Braden Rogers, our other guest on the panel. Braden is the Senior VP of Talent Acquisition at DCX. He's a seasoned HR leader with 9 years of experience in talent acquisition, team development, and data-driven recruiting. And at DCX, he's helped to scale the company towards its goal of becoming the best place to work in the Philippines. Braden, welcome to the panel. How are you?
Hey, Tyler, I'm good. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And if I got to spend my lunch hour talking about job descriptions and hiring every day, this is my love language. So I'm pumped about it.
I love it. I love it. Well, we're going to get into more of that. So like I mentioned, Zoom chat is opening in the webinar chat, as well as the Q&A box. If there's anything that you want me, Jenna, and Braden to answer, that's what we're here to do. So we'll be keeping an eye on those, but we have some pre-submitted questions as well that we got ahead of time. So we're going to go ahead and dig into those right now. So our first question for the panel is, what are some examples of hidden busy work that drains rep time? Some of that hidden busy work that drains rep times. What are we thinking, panel?
Oh gosh. Go ahead, Brandon, you go.
Oh, no. All right, I'll take it. No, I appreciate it. And Jenna, you'll be able to fix any flaws in the statements I make here because you work with these people every day. But what we've seen with a lot of our clients is it's, Tyler, what you mentioned, CRM, pipeline cleanup, lead scrubbing, that the leads that some sales teams have that are from 2015 may not be hot anymore. And so getting those names off the lists, chasing contracts. We have PandaDoc around here. And so trying to get the final signatures on stuff, I know eat up time for our sales team. And I can imagine I've talked with a lot of our clients. That's the kind of stuff that our support team members help kind of get in and take that off their hands. But yeah, that's what I've heard the most about and the pain points I hear most about. Jenna?
I'm going to piggyback on what you said. Definitely chasing unqualified leads, daydreaming about a pipeline that's never going to close because there's never been profiling or qualifying. No one's put a real dollar value on the customer. So a lot of daydreaming's going on. Also, probably over preparing decks without polishing these decks without really profiling the opportunity, profiling the customer, knowing if what you're showing even has alignment with what they need. So just a lot of daydreaming and probably CRM housekeeping as well. Logging notes in many different CRMs or many different systems or not even having a system. I'd say those are probably momentum killers.
Yeah, I love that you bring up daydreaming too, Jenna, because I do feel like that's one where reps get stuck in this busy work where they feel like they may be pushing things forward. They feel like we're doing something. Oh, we're going to customize this deck and I'm going to customize this proposal. I'm customizing this and I'm customizing that. And a lot of times that might just be an excuse for not being active, right? And so we want to push them towards activity and not just any activity, but meaningful activity. That's kind of that, hope is not a strategy, like Jenna just said. I totally agree. Hope is not a strategy.
I mean, if what you're doing is not directly tied to preparation, discovery, research, and re-engagement, then that is busy work. So protect yourself, right? No one's coming to save you. Protect yourself. And if you qualify and do the research and discovery on customers, the busy work becomes realistic tasks to move the business forward.
Love that.
Yeah.
I love protect yourself. Go ahead, Jaden or Braden. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I mean, all that stuff, not to undermine it, it's important. Like that stuff has to happen, but it doesn't have to happen with the sales rep. And you know, I'm friends with a few sales reps and often those people aren't the best at admin anyways. And so it's not their secret skill set. Their secret skill set is selling and being able to close the deal. And so whenever you have team members that are doing those kind of things, it's a waste of time, not because the tasks aren't important, but you got the wrong person performing the right task.
Yeah, truer words have never been spoken. Sales reps are historically terrible at admin. So I know nobody gets into sales to say, man, I'm in this for the admin. You know, I'm in this for the sales work. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't have signed up to be in sales. So, all right, cool. Let's keep the conversation moving. As a reminder, if you've got questions, toss them in the Q&A. We're also keeping an eye on the Zoom chat, which is back working. So if you've got questions or comments, feel free to toss those in. All right, next question for the panel is, how can companies determine the right time to invest in that sales support we were talking earlier? So not just how do you determine if it's the right or not, but how do you know when it's the right time? What are we thinking, panel?
Well, I'm just going to go with the statistic you put out, right? How much time sales reps are actually spending on sales, right? Not a lot. So I would say a sign to invest is when there's no re-engagement strategy, there's no time to re-engage, when the business isn't growing, when there's panic, when customers are waiting too long for answers, when the morale is low with your team. I would say those are all red flags. It's time to, look at the support infrastructure at that stage and say, oh, what's going on? Yeah.
Yep. No, Jenna, I mean, you're spot on. Big things for me, right, are pipeline bottlenecks. Whenever you see stuff starting to get missed, even by your best of the best sales team members, I often say people don't sign up for jobs and work in jobs and actively try to be bad. But if you see some of your top performers start falling off, there's a reason for that. And it's probably because they're on early stages of burnout or they've just got too much going on. And again, those people are often the last people to raise their hands that they need support. And so being really proactive in that hiring is going to be a big deal. And get your people the people they need to be successful. So.
Also, I'm just going to say it like with what you said, right? Managers, another sign to invest is when you're buried in babysitting work. If that's
Mhm.
happening and you see that your team is in crisis mode, you do not need more sales training. There needs to be a stronger support infrastructure at that point if you as a manager are babysitting tasks.
100%. I'm glad y'all bring up burnout too, because I think that it's a topic that's always present inside of sales orgs, whether we talk about it openly or not. But I feel like every rep has gone through stages, various stages. Every rep on your team is various stage of burned out right now. And if you aren't doing things to support them, to give them better opportunities to sell, to give them, more access to tools, the people, the resources they need to be successful, then that burnout is going to hit you one day. And usually it ends up hitting you out of the blue when one of your best sellers who you think things are going great decides, I don't want to be here anymore, and it may not be to go down to a competitor. It may be to get out of sales entirely. So I think we've got to think about our people. How do we support them, in their roles, whether they're succeeding or whether they're not doing as well? They're all experiencing some type of burnout and stress and anxiety. And I think that's where some of this sales support can really help alleviate that. And it can keep your best people here, because rehiring and trying to go back and find new good salespeople, like the cost of rehiring, the cost of onboarding, as we know, is prohibitively expensive. So you're just going to have to start back from square one with someone else. And I think that's just such a challenge, because all that inherent knowledge of them working for your company and the industry and the business goes out the door when they leave. So we've got to figure out what can we do to keep them.
Yeah, Tyler, and
Yeah.
one thing just to add on to that, burnout's a real thing, but often a lot of people attribute it to volume of work. And I think that's actually incorrect thinking. I think it's volume of work that's not aligned with somebody's like skill set. You never see somebody doing something they love that gets burnout. They're like, "Gah." And so if we're talking in terms of sales folks and getting them support, it's safe to assume a salesperson loves those face-to-face meetings with their prospects and putting it together and closing deals, because that's what they are born with the skills to do. And so protecting burnout from getting work off of them that drags them down is not just related to like, hey, you're going to work less hours this week. It's how do I get you things that are going to fire you up so that you can spend more time doing that?
Yep, I totally agree. Brooke said in the chat, early stage of burnout, that's helpful to know. Yeah, I mean, you've got to be looking for those signals, right? You got to be looking for your signals, and providing and thinking about this type of support, whether it's a sales support resource or it's just manager out there. Hey, are you checking in on your rep? Are you asking them how they're doing? Are you
There
taking
it
any of
is.
that time?
That's what I was going to
Oh, go ahead.
There it is. I was going to push back on sales leaders. And you just said it. I was like, I want to push back on sales leaders here when it comes to burnout. And I want to challenge sales leaders that if we're talking burnout, then we have to, say to sales leaders, which I think sales leaders and sales managers are different. But maybe there's an opportunity to set different standards for your team, plan differently, have different communication, give a better re-engagement strategy. If you're asking, go referrals, give them a strategy to go do that and support them, show them that it can be done. So I think too, if there's burnout, sales leaders, sales managers rise to the occasion. Maybe it's an opportunity to reevaluate what's going on, the communication, and yeah.
Yep, love that. Yeah, the number one role of every sales manager is to make sure that their team is taken care of. It's coaching, it's mentorship, and it's asking them, how the heck are you doing? Hey, how's life outside of work?
Yes.
Hey, how was your weekend? Hey,
Yes.
how's the family? How's the golf game? You know, like anything.
Let's talk about your bottom customers. Let's talk about your top customers. Let's
Right.
talk about it. Let me get in the trenches with you.
100%,
Go do
100%.
that.
They want that support from you as much as anybody. So they want to feel heard. They want to feel supported. So managers, make sure you've got a big responsibility out there. So think about all the different ways you can support your reps so that they remain happy and they don't walk out the door one day unexpectedly. All right, let's keep the conversation going. As a reminder, Q&A and chat. Feel free to throw any thoughts or comments or questions. We're going to go to this question next panel. Where do you draw the line between rep responsibilities and support team responsibilities? Where is that line between what the rep should be doing and what the support team should be doing? Thoughts?
Jenna, take lead.
Okay. I mean, I'm just going to say it. Everybody should be re-engaging the customer and growing the business. It's not just the sales reps' jobs, it's everyone's opportunity. So there's that. I think that depending on what the goals are, who the customers are, supplier, distributor, just in general, the team, any support team should be built out to have re-engagement and for everybody to be going after the business and growing the business, even your customer service people, even your inside. First of all, the inside people, they're the ones in the trenches. They're the ones that have the strongest relationship. They're sending tracking, they're giving amazing service, they're fielding POs, they're fielding questions. They have the relationship. Inside partners, inside support people, they're the deadliest ones to be re-engaging. They own the relationship. So I think that no matter how you build it out, everybody's opportunity, even your marketing teams, should be to go re-engage and grow the business. It's not just the sales rep's job.
Yeah. No, it's good. And I'm speaking a little bit out of pocket on this one just because I'm an outsider looking in. But what I've seen to be most effective is when you have your sales reps, or in our case, our sales reps, really owning the relationship and doing and handling straight revenue conversion. And a lot of things that I've seen with job descriptions, a lot of it can be attributed to just common sense, right? So if it feels like an admin task, it's probably an admin task. And sometimes it's not that complicated, right? And so things like building out proposals or prep work or scheduling, getting calendars together, email management, that's a kind of back to your point, Tyler, at the start. You're paying sales reps a lot of money to organize emails if that's the case. And again, echoing back to the burnout, there are a few things that I know in life that our sales friends just don't love to do. And there's a really easy way to help get them support with people on the counter side. There are people on this earth that love admin and they specialize in it. And that's why they work in admin support. And so, anyways, that's a kind of broad stroke answer here is if it feels like an admin specific responsibility, throw it toward the admin side.
And everyone's focus should be the relationships, to your point. Like, even if it's admin, right? Like, even giving service, that is strengthening a relationship.
Yep.
If the team is trying to reignite a former customer, everybody should be involved. Hey, guys, this is what we're looking to do. Once we land this is your role. We're going to need your help here. Include everybody, let everyone know what the plan is. Communicate, over communicate. You'll avoid a little bit of burnout that way, too.
Yep, love
Just
that.
saying.
Rory chimed in the chat. Want to bring this up. Rory said that sales reps should be responsible for relationships, storytelling, education, negotiation, support,
Yes.
everything else. So I love that thought from Rory in the chat of relationships, storytelling, education, and negotiation. And Braden, it kind of reminds me of like, those are the reasons that sellers probably got into sales.
Yeah,
they really enjoy those things. They love building relationships with their clients. They love storytelling and talking about how they can help solve problems. They love education. They love negotiation and closing the deal. They probably don't love like all the other stuff. So I like that line that Rory drew in the chat. Great job, Rory. Awesome. Any other thoughts here, panel, before we move on? Okay, cool. Let's keep it rolling. Active chat. I love it. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for chiming in. Kellyanne tossing some hearts in. I think that was when Jenna was talking. So appreciate the chat. Appreciate the all the support there. All right, let's keep the conversation moving. Do you have any examples of support roles directly impacting revenue outcomes? Any examples from real world scenarios in which any of these support roles might had a direct impact on some revenue outcomes? Any stories or examples come to mind, panel?
Yeah, I'll take it here. Honestly, it's response times, right? One thing that I personally find really important is speed of response to anybody that's reaching into out to you as a client or a customer. Time's really precious, as you've already laid out, and especially when somebody's coming to you and saying, "Hey, do you have this ability to fill a gap or a need for me?" If you're talking about like just straight dollars, the ability to respond quickly and provide a really, really strong service through that, that's going to be a value add in terms of dollars and cents. And that's just straight sales support activity. Your salesperson hopefully isn't buried in their Outlook inbox and just staring and waiting for the next thing. But again, if we can find team members that can prioritize that, you're looking at that as being a help. And then a million other things. What are all the other things that slow sales down from being able to, as Rory said, storytell with potential clients and current clients and all that? So
Jenna, anything to add there?
Yeah, I just keep going back to like being selfish in sales. And even if there's inside support people, I'm just going to go back to, they could be, while giving this great service, also asking, hey, here's your tracking. By the way, is there anything that we're not showing you that we should be? Or are there
mhm.
any events coming up that you guys have that we don't know about? So I think it's again back to everybody's opportunity to strengthen the relationship. And you'll do that by asking really hard questions, and when your customers answer those questions, you'll have the proper alignment. And I think that the inside support people are the ones to do it. They're the best ones to do it. They're the strongest ones.
Yep, 100%. 100%. Totally agree. All right, cool. Let's keep the conversation moving here. Next question is, what are the risks of lumping too much into one role? What are the risks of lumping too much into one particular role? What are we thinking here?
Ooh, can I go first on this one?
Yes.
This is my favorite.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So anytime you're building out a job description, if it does a little bit of everything under the sun, throw the job description in the trash and restart. And so we kind of, I'm going to drink a little Kool-Aid here. DCX operates on EOS. And one thing that EOS does really, really well is draws very clear lines of accountability and responsibility. And so one of the biggest issues with the catch-all, one, it's hard to find somebody that is great at all those things. So you're really setting somebody up for failure by saying, be great at everything. But secondly, it also, and I think this is the true cost of it, is people around don't actually know when they should take action on something. So if John Smith has 900 activities, those bleed into different people's areas of accountability and responsibility, you're going to slow down people being able to act on and making things happen. Because is it John's job? Is it my job? I don't know. And then the last thing I would say on this is eventually you run into the person that does have to do everything and they're lost in the sauce and there's not enough time in the day. And then again, you're just kind of perpetuating an issue of people falling off. So,
This is what leads to burnout, right? Like this, having somebody that could be a dumping ground and taking all the leftovers. This is actually what creates burnout, turnover, and zero impact. This is zero impact. This catch-all, zero impact, right? A support role has got to be measurable, and tied to sales results. Otherwise, what have you hired? What are you investing in? So yeah.
Yep, love that. I wrote down EOS and roles and responsibilities because I totally agree. I think that this is a great framework to run a business. And I think what it does really well, it draws the line in the sand. People need to know what their roles and responsibilities are. And I think too many businesses run with just, oh, I wear all the hats in this business. And I'm running around with a chicken with my head cut off and insert in all the different phrases that we say, AKA that they're probably not that happy because the day-to-day is unclear. They don't know what to do. And they feel like they're always reactive. They're never proactive. Remember that list we made earlier? They're always reactive versus being proactive. Jenna in the chat said, I always tell clients, keep it linear. Love that, Jenna. So keeping it linear. And then Jimmy chimed in with mastering the art of delegation by matching tasks to the right people's strengths and then allowing the sales reps to focus on driving sales. So Jimmy brings up the point of delegation. Where do y'all think delegation plays into this now that Jimmy brought that up?
yeah, Killer point, Jimmy. To be honest, I wish I would have written that or said that.
I know Jimmy's on
I
fire
think
here.
delegation is often one of the hardest skills to master, especially for people that have new sales support. So let's pretend this is a new concept you're bringing into your organization. At times they feel like they're doing less, and or they're holding on tasks they got to let go of so they can hit their full potential. So kind of pushing back to what Jenna said earlier on the call, like this is a responsibility. If you're a leader or a business owner or you manage a team and you're bringing in support for your people to help better their lives, it's like you have to lead them to water a little bit sometimes, but proper delegation is a requirement to have a support be successful. Because again, if you hire support and you don't delegate, they're going to sit there twiddling their thumbs, and it's not a fault of the support. It's because they're waiting for the things that they need to be doing. So, super, super important.
Yeah. Love that. Rory brings up in the chat, when a support person works for one person, their responsibilities can grow. But when they are helping multiple people at once, be very careful about overloading them. Is that something that y'all have seen, to where if a support person, I guess, is supporting multiple people, whether it's reps or other people, does that can it get pretty dicey pretty quickly? Jenna, what are your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, because right, if they're supporting many different reps, think about that. Many different reps, personalities, workflows, sales cycles, approaches, re-engagement tactics, no re-engagement tactics. Yeah, I mean, you've become almost a sales manager at that point,
Yeah.
trying to manage all the business and
Yeah.
and get good information. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It just gets more challenging, like you said, with the different personalities. Mick brings up the challenge when adding a new DCX rep. We don't have a full 40 hours a week worth of specific directed tasks to not find additional things for them to do. Braden, what would you recommend people do if they don't have
Yeah.
full-time tasks for everybody out of the gates?
Yeah, and it's a fair point. One thing that I had mentioned earlier is hiring needs to be strategic, right? And so the worst thing that we can do as leaders of teams is wait until people are up against the burner and against the edge of burnout to then offer help. And a lot of that means that we need to actually add additional support prior to the need maxing out. There's a book, I'm not paid by this author, called Effortless. He talks about kind of trying to maintain an 80% effort at all times. And I have seen that principle in practice, and it's a big deal. And so there are times to make 100% where you hire somebody and they may have 20 hours of work, but even if they lack the last 20 hours for a short time, what is the net benefit to the team member that they're then supporting? And so I'm a big fan of proactive hiring over hiring after the fact. Again, that enables the team to be proactive and not reactive. And it also helps prevent fires from happening that shouldn't have happened. But on the flip side, we have to be really, really smart as leaders of saying, hey, I am going to hire somebody. I know the full benefit of the 40 hours is coming in 3 months or next quarter, but this gives us a lot of time to prep and onboard that person. And it takes folks a long time to really master the craft of the role that they're going to be in. Um, but yeah, but definitely there is an inherent risk of hiring too early, but I think it's far worse to hire too late, personally.
Yep. Awesome. Looks like Greg McCown, the author there on Effortless. So yeah, that could be a good read for some of y'all thinking about this. We've got some more things coming up in the chat here. Do you have some coaching ideas for sales support people who want to do more, but their sales rep does not delegate to them well? Jenna.
Can I take that one?
Yeah, go for
please.
it.
I was like, I saw that and I was like, I hope we could go there real quick. So I'm just going to, again, coaching tips for support people that want to be more proactive and get involved and actually grow the business. I would say if it was me and I was that person who wanted to own more, I would make a list of skills that my company is not utilizing that I have. I could do this. I could be doing this. I could be doing this. I want to be doing this. And then I would go to that sales rep and say, hey, I really want to help you grow the business. Maybe I can do this. Maybe I can do this. And by the way, I have this skill set, and I think that maybe I could own that too. I think just figuring out what it is you excel at, what is the value that you bring to the table, and then just go tell the other party, hey, I want to be doing more to help you grow the business, because there it is, right? Like that's what you want. So I would just, it's on you to kind of do the research on yourself and then,
Yeah, because what a rep doesn't know, they're not going to know that
Oh
you
yeah,
can
yeah.
help them in those ways. I love the make a list of skills because,
Right.
I mean, it kind of goes back to make the list for the job
Yes.
description. It's making things clear. Like, hey, here's what we're looking for.
Yes.
Hey, here's what I can bring to the table. I think a lot of time it's just a lack of
Mhm.
communication where these things break down, and we've got to be proactive. Proactive communication solves a lot of these problems. Also in the chat, we've got.
Mhm. Mhm.
Would you suggest creating a list of all tasks that should be delegated? And Andrew says he struggles with this as my reps like to take things 100% of the way instead of pawning off to focus on filling the funnel. Any thoughts there, panel?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
two approaches to this. I think it's, sorry, Jen, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Nope. Don't know.
Depending on the size of your organization, I don't think that there's a one size fits all in this response. So if you're slightly smaller in terms of org or you have fewer sales reps, I think there's the ability to personalize it a little bit more. And so say it's a one-to-one situation where it's one sales rep and one support. There's an opportunity to find out what the sales rep really gets dragged down by that is not a sales activity, but maybe there are light sales activities that drag them down from just a pure productivity standpoint where it drains them mentally. Those are things you could look at delegating off. On the flip side, this is something I've personally used and I've seen to pretty good effect, and so I'm biased to it, right? But there is a world where you also ask the support, like, what are you killer at? What can you do to complement me? It's a yin and yang relationship, right? And so there's an opportunity to kind of customize that fit a little bit. Now, if you're at a 100-person sales organization and you need complete unity across all roles, that's definitely a reality for some folks. But if you have the ability to adjust things a little bit, I think asking both sides of the sales rep and the support, like, what are you great at? How do we complement each other? How do we make this a really, really productive relationship so that in the end, the organization they're with wins?
Yep, love that. Going back to the chat, looks like we've got another question coming in from Nathan here. How do you best delegate the ideas of the sales rep, the ideas the sales rep has for a creative project deck to sales support to make sure that the sales support person creates a deck that hits the mark? So I guess is this, if you're asking, this sales support, hey, help me create this deck or help me customize this deck, how do you make sure that deck hits the mark, especially if your salesperson is really good at the creative aspect, if they might be the best slide deck creator in the company? This would kind of be beyond a request for mugs and pens kind of a thing. Any thoughts there? Like, I guess it's asking basically, like, if the rep is good at a task, how do we make sure that translates to the support person?
Yeah.
I think the rep continues to set the support person up for success and gives really good information. They have to do the more discovery and research for the sales rep. Go grab examples, paint a picture as to, like, hey, this is the impact I'm trying to make. This is where I'm going to spend my most time. This is where the slide that I need to be most impactful. Tell them why, give them, over communicate, right? And I think you set the standards. And then also, if you set them up for success, you should be good to go. But I think it's on the sales rep to
I can
really
also
give that person the right information.
100%. This is to me also where, especially when you're doing async hybrid communication like this, I think creating like videos, creating audios, creating looms, like showing them
Yes.
how you think, not just because I think so much can get lost in text, where you just don't understand what somebody's really saying. Whereas if you were to create a video and you could screen share and show them things, you talk them through that thought process, Jenna, and now they understand not just what you want, but why you think that way, so that now that they're going to be thinking that
They're
when they
involved.
create other things. Yeah, it's a partnership. It's a
They're
relationship.
involved. And
Yeah.
then, yes, Tyler, and you're now giving them an opportunity to showcase their skill set. You're maybe avoiding burnout. You're strengthening the relationship between you and your inside partner. They're on their journey with you. Yeah, no brainer.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Tyler, you hit it. One thing I would say is whenever you bring on a sales support, one, it's a direct partnership, right? It should never be looked at a hierarchy. Obviously, there's organizational hierarchies, but the way I've seen it work best is like, hey, me and you, we're in this thing together. We're trying to accomplish these goals. And if we want to take it, if we want to take it back to the millennial days of 2009, 10, 11, you can make vision boards and storyboards and say, like, this is the style of things that I like, and teaching your support, like, what do you like? And then whenever the support happens to put something together that's really killer, like praising that big time. Hey, this is so freaking awesome. Whatever it was, this deck was killer. I know it's beyond mugs and pens. I don't have a better example. That pen layout and choice was great. And reaffirming like the behaviors and the actions and the design choices that you really love to see. Because people are smart, sales supports are smart. And yeah, so anyways, there's a lot to it, but I would say, just like Jenna said, it's on the sales rep themselves to help level their support up to be able to act in a way and act as an extension of what they want.
Yep. And Jimmy's shouting out Jenna's teachings for implementing a sales cycle, planning your week ahead, and dedicating days for specific tasks. Great way to kind of practice some of that effective time management.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you, Jim.
Jimmy, appreciate you. All right, we got another question in the chat. Sandy's asking, how can you encourage a sales rep to provide the necessary information when a pricing request is submitted? The internal team often struggles to obtain complete details from the sales team, even when there is a form to fill out, which sometimes hinders their ability to generate accurate quotes. So when it comes to pricing and when we start doing quotes and proposals, any best practices we've seen for how rep and support can work well in these circumstances?
I'm just going to go back to the sales reps. The sales rep could probably over communicate. Hey, here's what I'm trying to do this year. These are the top customers. These are customers I'm trying to re-engage. You're on this journey with me. This is, your role. This is my role. I need this from you. I'm going to give this to you. Is there anything that you need from me that I'm not giving you so you can do your job to help me grow the business? I think it just starts with opening up the dialogue, the conversation. Here's my strategy. Here's what I'm trying to do. Here's where you fit in. I need you. You're on the front lines. I'm going to give you good information. What do you need from me that I'm not giving you now? I think it's on the sales rep. Set your team up for success.
Facts. Yeah. And then what I've seen internally with DCX and then with a lot of our clients, this issue tends to live within the very early part of a sales support's journey, kind of in that role, right? And so they're learning a lot of things. And what I always recommend anytime somebody's in a new role or they're taking on a new responsibility, pretend like this is a new thing that's being handed to them, is there is no shame in for a short period of time, really simplifying. And so it's, if you build out an if then situation, or here's, you do this with that, or when you recognize this, we need this information, and giving very clear lines of, if you run into XYZ question, flag it so that I can get involved. And then that gives the sales rep an opportunity to start teaching into their support. And as time goes on, the support, again, the closer the support can think like the sales rep, the faster you're going to be able to gain all the benefits of the acceleration and the revenue growth and all that. But especially in those early days, like, being patient is probably the most meaningful thing you can be, because I always go back to, people don't want to suck at their jobs, but often it takes more time to train than people can imagine for somebody to really fulfill what they're trying to be for that person. So.
Yep, 100%. One other question that we had kind of related here is, what's one of the biggest mistakes y'all see sales leaders make when they're actually structuring their sales teams? Any mistakes that come to mind? I know I've got a laundry list that I could go to, but what do y'all think, panel?
Yes, creating a customer service infrastructure and not a sales infrastructure, and not training the team to hunt and re-engage, not having a re-engagement cadence, not profiling the business, not qualifying the business, and teaching your team to wish and hope.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, one thing that I've seen the most is people not being proactive enough in scaling the teams, because sometimes sales can take fire out of the blue, and if you're surprised by that, that's tough. And so sales leaders spending more time, and that doesn't mean acting today, but that means establishing the plan that when things do explode, in a perfect world, we're going to have a plan in place and a scale, a hiring method that's in place so we can scale quickly to get there. And again, hiring is always better done on the front end than the back end, because one of the chatters, and I apologize, I can't pull her name and I can't reach the chat right now, but she had talked about the added pressure if you're hiring after the fact. It's way harder. Like, it makes it way more difficult. Tensions are already high. People are overburdened already. Now you're having to train. And so the biggest thing in terms of organizing your structure is making sure you're spending like a substantial amount of time planning what that team size needs to look like under different situations, right? So sales stays the same. Are we good? What if it does A, B, C, whatever? So.
Yep, I love that. Yeah, sometimes
And
just
then
stopping.
always,
Go ahead, Jenna.
well, I was just going to say, and then continuing to always audit those operations
Yeah.
as you're growing, and continuing to, check in with your team. And yeah. Yep.
100%, 100%. Clear roles and responsibilities, planning ahead, sometimes pausing, working on the business versus working in it. I think all of these things are great. Awesome panel. We are out of time. This was a great discussion. I think we could have gone for a second hour if we needed to. But I really appreciate Jenna and Braden for both hopping on today and joining us. So much value. If you want to follow them online, they're on LinkedIn. So it's fantastic. I'm going to kick it back over to Katie from DCX. Katie's going to close us out. So Katie, if you want to pop on, and then Jenna and Braden will hop off. So thank you, Katie, closing us out.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for the great keynote and the great panel discussion. That was amazing. The recording for today's session will be shared with you all the registrants this week. So just be looking out for that, along with some other helpful resources. For more information, you can, and for future events like this, follow DCX on LinkedIn. I will drop that, our LinkedIn in the chat. And then if you have any direct questions, feel free to email me, katie.eubanks@delegatecx, and I will direct you to the right person. And that's a wrap for today. Thank you all for spending time with us, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.